everyone, welcome to another episode of The Stone Genius. You know me, my name is Ro. I'm the Stone Genius. I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. Truth be told, I am stoned right now. I have been doing my pre-gaming with Tupac Shakur, not in person, although if I was going to believe in conspiracy theory, that may be the one I believe in, even though he just arrested and murdered. Side note, okay, anyway, I pre-game with Tupac, so I am ready to go, and we have guests tonight. Did I say plural as in guests? Yes, I did. So I'm going to welcome to the show from Phantom Paranormal, Tina Anderson, who is lead investigator, and Alex Drohner, who does most of the same things. He calls himself a gopher. We're going to find out exactly what Alex does as well. Hey, welcome to the program, you two. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I'm going to start with Tina real quick. So you're also a medium. How is a medium? Like, I don't even know. I was thinking about this because I've heard of mediums, and I think I am familiar with maybe what they do, but I'm not sure if I'm correct, and I'm not sure if I even understand it. So can you explain a little bit about the medium portion of you?
Well, everyone has different, things they can do when they're a medium. And I can feel them. Sometimes I can see them, and I can communicate with them. I can hear them.
So are these spirits we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. So it's because the mediums that I'm thinking of was like, the ones that talk to, I guess there's still, and that's where I become a disconnect. So
I do speak to spirits.
Okay. So sometimes as with the people that are in the society, the high IQ society, we silo stuff, and then we don't even because I think about the medium that I have seen on TV where it seems like they're telling people about loved ones that have passed on and things, but then you do something different. So I wouldn't even, that's why I was having trouble thinking about where medium fits in with you. But now I understand, because I was always just thinking, oh, well, they're just telling nice stuff that grandma went on before me and she forgot to leave me her cinnamon roll recipe or something. So that's what I was thinking as medium. But you're speaking with the paranormal in the setting, kind of when I think of Phantom Paranormal and you're being a lead investigator, going out and investigating hauntings. So you're communicating with those spirits, or that's what your intent is when you go to a location. Okay, everyone, we're back. We got disconnected real quick, so we are back on the line. So, Tina, I was just asking about a medium in your relationship to how you use it every day today. So if you want to explain a little bit about that.
Well, like when I go to like a residence or a client that wants to know stuff, it's different because I can open up and speak to like family members or have different family members come through. Usually it's random who comes through. It's not who they basically want it. Usually it's random. I can't like call somebody and talk to them.
Right. So so you can't reach out. So I wish I could use this reference and everyone would understand, but we're getting to the point where not everyone understands how radios work, like a radio dial. But it would be almost like you are turning into a radio and you don't know what station you're going to get, kind of. So you're just kind of, and then, you hear something, you're able to communicate with that, but you're not able to say, like on radio, I want a country station or I want opera music. It just gives you whatever presents itself. And that's how you communicate.
Yes.
Okay. So here's a question that I came up with when I was dancing around to Tupac earlier. So have you ever come up with I'm fairly open-minded about things. So one of I try to reconcile things in my life. Like if there's something that seems in conflict, I still believe A lot of people don't believe this anymore. They just go with it. But I believe you should resolve that conflict. So I've always been open to the idea of aliens, like extraterrestrials visiting Earth. But then someone was talking about like center Earth, like that type. And I've always dismissed that. But then I was thinking, so I'm okay with people traveling, thousands of light years or hundreds of light years or dozens of light years to get here, but I can't think of people in a cave in the center of the Earth that, I mean, it just seems like it should be just as so what I decided was, while I don't lean towards that, I'm like, okay. So my roundabout question is, I feel like I'm very open to things, but every once in a while, like flat earthers, I will just say, nope, I'm not having this. Have you ever had, and this is for either one of you, have you, Alex or Tina, have you had someone approach you and you're just like, no, you don't believe them, you don't think they're, for whatever reason, you're just like, no.
You hit on a couple of them there with flat earthers.
Oh, no. Hold on, I got it.
Goodness gracious.
That's a whole other. So yes, that's another story. So maybe I shouldn't have
started on that. I'm way too sober for that.
Okay, yeah. But have you all heard anything where you're just like, no, I just like, someone's like, my clock's oozing grape jelly, and you're like, no, that's not a thing. I mean, have you ever just had something so outlandish where you just said no?
Yeah.
You have. Can you tell us what that was?
It was just blank, basically.
Well, where was it?
Probably Rachel.
So if someone's Tina, this is for you. If someone's explaining a situation, should you be able to get a feel for that situation just through that person and not like being at a site or something of that nature?
Sometimes, but not all of the time. Depends. Like sometimes they'll have an attachment, but sometimes they won't. If it's really affecting them, they'll have some energy coming off of them, but not really. At least I can't.
So have you found, so I have had a paranormal investigator on the podcast before, and he was talking about how he walked around, he had like a pocket EMF something, or I'm like, what? I mean, so like, I think his everyday carry is much different than what I put in my pockets every day. But with him, he said that some of the times that when he would get somewhere, he just didn't have a feeling like he didn't have it couldn't pinpoint them lying to him, but he just said there was an absence of anything. Do you feel, is that how you feel something, a presence or an absence of something?
Yeah, I use an EMF reader as well, but I can usually feel if there is something.
So have you,
and I can see them sometimes.
So how do you resolve, like if you're feeling something strongly and your EMF reader is not signaling that, or vice versa, you don't feel something, your EMF reader is high, or I'm not sure what the positive response is, but the EMF reader's then positive, can you reconcile that, or do you just give it time and see if the EMF catches up to you or vice versa?
It really depends, I think.
Well, the EMF can be set off by other things too, like electronic devices,
TVs, radios,
and things like that. So sometimes you just got to search out for what's
box. Yeah, fuse boxes do it. Water heaters sometimes.
Has there been a time where you, Alex, have had a different feeling than Tina on site somewhere, where she may be feeling something strongly and you're like, I don't feel this. This isn't creepy at all. Or, or vice versa. So I was just wondering whether you all felt the same energy or something when you were at it. Cause that is something I try to do. And I don't really, And I guess it would be paranormal if let me ask this. As a
I'll
genius,
let Alex answer that for you.
well, let me ask this. As a genius, I should have a better definition. What is the exact definition of paranormal?
Well, we had one experience where we were down in a basement, and we're in this room, and all of a sudden Tina just looks at me and goes, "We have to get out of here." And she kind of grabbed my shirt, and then I turned towards the doorway where we had just walked through, and it was like a mist had been there, like somebody had just put a vape cloud out there. You know how those people
Yeah.
that vape,
Yeah.
and I didn't feel nothing. I was all like, "What's going on?" She said we had to get out of there, and then she comes over to me afterwards, and we walk away for a second. She's like, "I just had a horrible feeling, like I wanted to hurt you." And she looked right at, and I felt nothing there, but she had this apparent. She'll be right back here. She'll tell you that a demon had told her that she, basically it influenced her to try to hurt her.
Right. Yeah.
And
So,
like I said, I felt nothing, but I did see the mist, which was kind of interesting to see, and I hope we got it on tape. It's just hard to get some things on tape.
so does that then spook you more? Especially like if the mist wouldn't have been there, she could have just felt something, told you, and it's like, okay, you felt that, I felt nothing. But it seemed like there was like something that was leaving a clue for you that what she was saying was being corroborated by this mist. So once she told you, did you act differently once you saw the mist?
I go by her because, like I said, I don't have the feeling she does. And I was listening to a podcast years ago where this guy said that if one experience is true, then they're all true,
Right.
That if one of them's true, then their demons are real. And I honestly want to see one with my bare eyes, and that's what another thing I kind of along to be with the gopher. I'm not afraid of any of that stuff,
Right.
I want to see it.
Yeah. So you're the type during tornado season, if the sirens went off, you would run outside.
Yes.
I think we both are.
Okay.
Yes, if my mom hears this, there's a story where at our house we had these huge bay windows in our kitchen, huge bay windows, and it basically the sirens were going off, and it looked like I had a gravel driveway, and it looked like it basically had been lifted up and brought into the air, like there's a tornado there somewhere. And I remember walking up the top of the stairs to look at it, and just getting yelled at to get back downstairs.
Yeah. Always got to see it. I mean, and that's how I am open. So here is one of my strange stories, because you had mentioned demons, and I try to be open, and this is where it feels weird to me, because like possession and things like that.
Back.
Okay, welcome back, Tina. So possessions and things have interested me. I mean, I'll watch movies about them. I'll watch documentaries. I'll learn. I think that they're interesting. And so my wife played college basketball at a Christian college. And one of the girls that she played basketball with went on, she's in the ministry. And one day she was telling me, and this has been quite some time, but one of her sisters was possessed, and she was there for it and was explaining. And it's weird because this person I've known for many, many years. I trust them. I wouldn't think there would be a false word come out of their mouth, but it's just weird when they're telling me this, like I'm hearing a firsthand account of a possession, and I had more disbelief than I think if I would have seen it on TV, which I thought was very weird. Is that a feeling that some people have, that if they think their residence or whatever may be haunted, or I don't know what the correct terminology is, so you can correct me on that, but if they feel something's going on there, could it be similar to that?
Oh yeah, it's just and some people just hear like their furnace creaking, and they think it's somebody, it's definitely somebody walking.
Right.
I always say, if you hear something like that, walk towards the noise.
Yeah, walk towards it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I say I'm the same one, but then if you watch a movie, I'm the guy that's like, who would do that? But then in a real life situation, I would be the one that would do that.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
it is
definitely the ones to do that.
Well, and that's what I think is interesting, because often what you think and what you should know can be disrupted by real life. And another instance for me like that was, we were in Palm Springs, California, and there was an earthquake, and we were outside. But for like 20 seconds, the ground shook, and I think it was a 5 or a high 4, and so it freaked the people out in California. But to us, it was weird because it shook the whole ground. Everything's shaking, everything's rattling, things are falling over. But at the end of 20 seconds, my wife and I looked at each other, and we were like, "What was that?" Like, it could have been anything other than an earthquake, And so it was just, so sometimes you're like, well, I would know what an earthquake feels like. I'm not a fucking idiot. And then I was in an earthquake, and it was like, what was that? So I just wonder if sometimes you get somewhere and you're prepared for a situation, the situation arises, and whether it's positive, negative, or indifferent, do you find yourself having a really weird response to it, just going, well, I thought I would have handled that differently?
Yeah, I've been through that situation. I was by myself in Delavan movie theater, okay,
Uh-huh.
in Wisconsin, and I was by myself for the third investigation I did by myself there. And I went into the big movie theater room, and I was just standing at the top with all the lights off, just standing on stage, and I was talking, just doing EVPs, which is a recording. And all of a sudden, someone said, "Hello there." And I'm like, I'm the only one here. In my head, I said that. And it scared the hell out of me. And I went running out of the theater. And
Yeah.
that never happens to me like that. Like, my heart started racing, and I'm like, I'm by myself. And I ran.
And as Alex was just mentioning, a response, you're probably thinking before that, if someone said hello, that you would turn and approach it. You'd be like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
I mean, in most of my thoughts about the paranormal are based on the original Ghostbusters movie. I was like 15 or 16 when it came out.
This was just like all of a sudden, because usually I go towards the noise.
Right.
But this time I was like, what was that? And I ran.
So,
like a little schoolgirl.
my favorite scene from there is when they look at him, or they go, and he says, "Your idea was get her," when they're at the library at the beginning. And sometimes I feel like that, because, get her, and then when it did what it did, you that's not the response and so then you run out. So that's kind of why I was thinking about that, because it's weird when you think, I know how to handle this situation, and then that situation arises and you do not handle it anywhere how you thought you would.
No, I really didn't. I had all my equipment on me already, and I just ran right out of that theater.
So here was an interesting thing that I had thought about last time, whether, and you can clear this up, because I don't know if this is verbiage or I'm right. We were talking about haunted places that seemed to be more haunted, and it was designated to a location. And so then I was wondering, well, does it ever move with families? And then I was thinking afterwards, wouldn't that be a haunting? Like the family's haunted, so it doesn't matter where they go, something. So is what going on in my mind, is that correct? Is there a difference between something being haunted and there being a haunting? And if not, is there something that follows people and doesn't stay to a location? That was a lot of questions. I'm sorry. Go.
We'll take that in a bunch of parts.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Well, tell them about the last place we were at. All these, there's a person that keeps bringing something into a home that we keep kicking out of this home.
So the paranormal thing, or like someone that lives there and is messing with you?
Okay, no. So someone that lives there. Okay, so we went there the first day, and I could feel it on him. It was not good. It was not human. And I talked to him, and he didn't want to talk to me. And then the next time we came the next day to cleanse, because there's so many people there the first day there was no way possible, because it was cold outside, so cold outside, to get the cleansing done. It was impossible not to walk around and get it done, because there's so many people in the house. So we came back the next day, and come to find out, they decided to move out because I was coming to cleanse him and his girlfriend. And he talked to me for like maybe a minute, and then started walking out of the house with loads of his stuff and his girlfriend's stuff. And then he went outside and was talking to his friend that lived there as well. His friend came inside and told his mom that the other guy wanted to stab me. And the reason he was acting like that is because he had an attachment. He was being possessed, and he would not let me cleanse him at all. Neither would his girlfriend.
So how often, like, I'm trying to think if I've ever run across someone that's possessed. Recently, someone near us had an episode. They had some medical issues in the past, and there was another episode, and you would have maybe thought the way they were acting that they were possessed. And I don't think they were, and I don't know if that comes and goes and how that manifests, but I don't know any of that. But I'm just wondering, like, how often in daily life is the general public, just the average Joe, Joette, whoever, out in public, how often are they running across people that are possessed and they have no idea? Or what would you think?
That'd really be hard to say.
Okay. I mean, I just don't, and I'm 56, and I feel like I'm fairly in tune. So recently had an empath psychic on, Raven Willow, who was great, and we were talking about her being an empath and feelings and how she breeds and things of that nature. And the way I have always talked, it made, like, growing up. Like, I've always said, well, I read people, and people, oh, I read people too. And it's like, no, I'm not like, oh, they're having a good day. It's like almost instantly I can tell whether that person's a good person or a bad person. And I can even point out why. It just seems like things are pointed out to me. And so it seemed like I had she was like, well, maybe you should look into this. Maybe you actually have some skill set or something as an empath. So I was thinking, I've never felt like I've had people that have probably wanted to stab me before, but I don't think it's anything more than them just not liking me, which is a huge list. It's a much bigger bubble than the ones that do like me. That being said, I don't think any of it was demon related, although I don't know that. And before I forget, so when guests say something that I could put on a t-shirt, I always want to do that. So I wrote down, you had said, not good, not human. And I was going to write Tina Anderson, Phantom Paranormal, also Bobby, which is my wife, the first time she had sex with me. Hey-oh! So
awesome.
that may show up on a shirt. So if you see the quote "not good, not human" attributed to you, that's why. Because I thought that was a great.
I want one.
Yeah. So I just feel like I've never, and so that's why I'm wondering. Like, if I feel like I'm walking around with a lot of psychos anyway, but they don't seem to be fueled by demons, at least at this point.
It's weird that you say that, because I can read people really well. I can feel how they feel. I can tell a lot when people are lying to me.
Right.
If they're right in front of me.
Yeah. And I do that, and I will call people out. I mean, I will just be like, well, that's not. So here's me. At my stage in life, I try to just be honest. And everyone's like, oh, well, you think you're so good. I'm like, no, I do a lot of bad shit, but I'll also tell you about the bad shit I do. I mean, I am what I am. So, but I can feel, I mean, and it's weird because I've always said that. I just turned 56, and until I talked to her, I just thought that's just me. I'm different. But yeah, I'm different, and there may be a skill set involved in that. And that's what's interesting. So I guess my next question is for you, Tina, is do you do anything to focus or harness or increase your gift that you have as a medium?
I cleanse myself a lot. I when I do stuff like I close my eyes. I have to focus. If it's someone that wants me to try to read them and reach out, see if anyone comes through, I either touch them for a second, like their hand, um, hold their hand for a second, talk to them, and then close my eyes and I'll try to feel it out, see if anything comes through.
Have you ever walked by someone and accidentally brushed up against them, touched them, not like I'm going to try to read this person, or just said hi to someone and shook their hand and just been jolted by whatever information you received at that point?
I try to shut it down, unless I'm working or doing something. I don't like to read my friends. I don't like to do any of that because of privacy reasons. I try to respect everybody's privacy. I don't think it's right to do that.
So then the
But
question to you,
I
Alex, is
have.
how well does she do that? Do you ever be like, stop reading me, Tina?
No, honestly, I think she'd probably be scared.
Well, that's good then. Go. I mean, because then you can be like, you obviously don't know what I'm thinking right now, and don't try to know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
But there has been a couple times where like I've hugged someone or seen someone like family members or something or a friend or a stranger and something would flash in my head.
Yeah. And Raven said that happened to her a lot too. That sometimes she just couldn't be around people it sounded like that she had more difficulty maybe turning it off or
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that is,
It's hard. It's hard to shut down.
so when you all are, so this question's to you, Alex. Well, I guess it is for you, Alex. So how does someone reach out to you? They feel like they have an issue. Let me use this for an example because I've got really fucked up on this the last 2 weeks or so. The first house that we bought in Olathe, Kansas, and my wife, and we had been married a couple years at this time. We'd been together. We're now 27 years in. And
Congratulations.
thank you. And we were I had to get up like at 4:30 for work every morning. And I kept thinking I heard children's voices. They weren't our kids. I think we only had one child we did only have one child when we first moved in there. And so we lived on a cul-de-sac, and I'm like, there shouldn't be any fucking kids out at 4:30 in the morning, even in the summertime. So I kept looking. I never saw anything. I didn't say anything to my wife because I didn't want to freak her out. I could never make out the words, but it just sounded like there were kids talking. And then at some point, I don't know why I said something about it. My wife overheard me, and she was like, "Yeah, I hear it too." Later, a couple years later, so we were like, well, maybe there was like, I don't know what went on. And that seemed to be the only thing. In the early morning, the only indication we'd have, it sounded like talking. Could it have been pipes or radon? I don't know. It could. Am I open to other things? Yes, 100%. It just sounded like muffled children's voices. But then later on, I would find only when my wife would go out of town that every light in the entire house would be turned on. So 3 bedrooms with a basement. It was a split level. All 3 levels would have every light on. Every light, even if it was a push button or a pull switch, they were on. And so it was weird because I always attributed that. So I tied the the children's voices that I thought were children's voices and the lights, because I even got where I would yell, please leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. Because I would turn all the lights off. A little bit later, all of them would be on again. I had someone on about alien abductions, and they were talking. I had never mentioned that story. They said that's very common for alien abductions, that all the lights are left on. So then I was like, could the house have had something there? Could I have been visited by aliens? Could both of those things happen at the same time? Because of those, I would feel pretty lucky. I would go buy a lottery ticket. If someone said you have a haunted house and you're being visited by aliens, I would definitely buy a lottery ticket that day. That being said, what is the most common thing that people reach out to you that makes them think that they need your services?
Well, first of all, let's go find that house again and make it into a haunted house and make some money off of it. Because that sounds like a lot of fun.
It was interesting but that was all. It was nothing. There was nothing malicious or anything. And even when the lights, every single light would be turned on. And I remember, and we've always had Dobermans, and my wife would always be funny because she'd be like, even when we lived out in the country, she'd be like, I think I heard something. And I would look at the dog and I'd be like, you didn't hear anything. If the dog's not up and alert, you didn't hear anything. And it was weird because every light would be on and the Doberman would be sound asleep right next to me. And then I would turn every light off, go back to sleep, every light would be on. And so it was just, I always tied the two together because even though the light stuff happened later on after we were there, I always just kind of associate the two. And now I'm beginning to think there may be a disassociation, and there may be nothing for either one of them. It could be shitty wiring and bad plumbing for all I know.
Well, you can ask Tina whenever we go anywhere, if she's like, oh, there's a cold spot here or whatever, I always look for a reason why. I always look for a reason why. And there's been a time before where we were in this basement and she told me whatever entity was right in front of me. And I had just used the EMF, or that was the EMF reader I was using, right? Yeah,
right.
And I could see that there was nothing at one point. Then all of a sudden I moved it again to the same spot where she said someone was standing. It popped off. And it's like a lot of the times certain people can hear things that other people can't as well. You know, they just can't, you know. I can't hear a lot of things Tina can, and you might just hear things that or pick up on things that other people can't as well. I grew up in a house that multiple people have seen, like, entities. Like somebody's
like in your family or previously to someone living in someone else.
I was sleeping in the bedroom. My sister was sleeping in the other room. My mom, it was a big long house, and my mom looked down the hallway and she saw what she thought was one of us standing out of bed. So she was going back to find out, hey, it's school night, get back to bed. We were both sound asleep.
Wow.
And there was another time, like I remember she mentioned the big bay windows. We were leaving the driveway and my grandmother looked in the rearview mirror, and this is back when she was sharp. My grandmother was awesome back then. She still is, but she was sharp, you know, and she had both her eyes worked great. And she's like, oh, that neighbor boy's in the house. She saw somebody in the windows, and I had to go through the whole house and make sure nobody was in there. But see, I never saw these things. I just experienced, like, I'd be down in the basement, some get knocked off the mantle upstairs that no animal could have because they're all in my room with me.
Right.
So, I mean, like, I'm the lucky one that has to, that's why I'm not afraid of any of this stuff. I grew up with it.
So I would tell you this, that as a stoner, I would be you would just disregard, because I'm like misplacing shit all the time. Like I'll walk in the front of the door and I'll go to hang my keys up. Like I just walked in. So this is a debate my wife and I have all the time. I feel like I just walked in, coming in from the car, which we live in an apartment and so it's, if I have the first stall, which is very common in the afternoon, I maybe have 30 feet to the front door and then it's another 15 to my door. And so I've locked my car and somehow my keys have disappeared between, and I unlock the door. I got in the house and I go to hang my keys up and now my keys are gone. Like they disappeared out of my hand. They're not in the door, and I'll look and I can't find it. I've called my wife and I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, they're nowhere. And I go, I open the door and she goes, are you sure you haven't gone in? And they'll be like in the bathroom, like on the counter. And so as a stoner, like, because I'm always like trying to reconcile that. I go, what's better, that I'm so stoned some of the times that I have no idea that I actually came in further than the front door, or is it sometimes I feel like I'm going through multiverses. And so there's a slightest change, and for some dumb reason, I don't know. So
Well, I got to tell you, the first place I look when I can't find the remote is the freezer.
it's just all the time. Like I will, and so I have.
I totally agree with you.
Well, I have
100%.
become, especially as I get older, I become very, let's say, fixed in my ways. I hate it when people say, "Oh, I have OCD," because they don't really, because most of them don't, and they're not diagnosed. They just think if they do something weird that it's like OCD like. But I will try to put the remote, so I don't forget where it is. I try to always have it, like if I'm sitting on the couch, on the right-hand side right next to me, so that I know where the remote always is. But then some reason it's in a shoe across the room. And once again, I'm a stoner, but I do know that people have died in our apartment as well. So this apartment complex has been here for years. We had heard that when you moved in here, that most of because we were like, oh, we're only going to be here a year. We're just downsizing, and this is just going to be for a year as we're looking. And so now that we've been here many years, they said that they go, most of the people, when they leave the apartment complex, that's feet first, meaning they die and that's how they move out. I never, until I just said that out loud, maybe there was a serial killer here, and that's why they said that.
I think maybe you should move out before you're going out first.
Well, at 56, I have felt very mortal lately. So actually, I don't. That's not the truth. I've been giving a lot of thought to a life sentence. Because when you're 20 years old, a life sentence, because you think you're going to live to be 90, and you're like, I don't want to be in prison for the next 70 years. That does not sound fun. But when you're 56, you now realize that you're probably not going to make it to 90. And so a life sentence, so I was trying to reconcile earlier today, like a life sentence to me would be like 8 to 10 years probably now. I just don't see me going much past maybe 65. And so I was trying to think in my 20s, what would have been an 8 to 10 year sentence? And it probably would have been stealing a car or something. I don't even know back then. But so my thoughts have totally changed on how I look at life. And it's just, it's weird as I start talking to more and more guests, and I talk to specialists like you that are out there in the field, and you deal with this, because I often have that conflict of I want to believe, but sometimes the people that are trying to get me to believe are like people I know or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to believe you. I mean, I feel bad about that. But so it's interesting hearing what you all run into on a daily basis. So I don't think I ever let you answer. What would be the biggest thing getting people to come out? The biggest thing to be haunted?
Well, basically, you hit on it with like the children's voices. People tell us a lot. They hear that, like things. Basically, it's the bump of the night. We just recently went on a fairly long trip to go see one that apparently it had a poltergeist, where there was things flying off the shelves and everything you can imagine. And when we went down there, Tina felt nothing.
Really?
And it was a long trip but the problem with it is, like I said before, if one of them is real, and we can help a family, that's
right.
The main thing that I want to do with her is, if I can bring peace to a family, which the greatest thing I love is hearing a couple days later how the house seems peaceful now. That's whatever we can bring to however we did it, even because I'm not a true believer, honestly. I want to be, but I want to see this stuff. I've seen a couple things, but I want to see more,
Right.
I want to see like indisputable, that I can put it out there that nobody can say, well, that was filmed or whatever, that's photoshopped, or no, it's real, that kind of thing. I want to see that, but
I always worry about saying stuff like that to the universe, because it's like, oh, really, Alex? You would like to see something? I got something to show you. And then the next thing is,
Alex, welcome to my world. I'm so glad you're here.
So it could be something like that. And you may be like,
that would be so cool.
Sure, I worked in haunted houses. That was the voice I can do.
I mean, so what is a typical cleansing like? Or let me back up one. Instead of a cleansing, what is the most typical thing that you run into at a place that you're investigating? Like, is it apparitions, the voices? What do you all, or is it just readings that you all get, feelings that you get, Tina? What is it that you all are feel first, and then how do you process and deal with that?
It really depends on the situation. That's kind of hard to answer. Um, well,
basically we just go whenever we go to a house first. We walk through it with the people.
Okay, so we walk through
and we just try to get a general feeling of what is going on, and then if we can, and then we focus in on areas where we know that, okay, this is happening. Well, like, we'll tell them about the portal you found in Indiana in the bathroom.
Okay, so we went to Indiana, and for a lady, a good friend of ours now, and went to her place. We went into her apartment, walked around her apartment with them, and then we went down to the basement with a neighbor of hers and walked around the basement. And we went upstairs, and I walked around while they talked. Alex and her talked. And when I went into the bathroom, I went in with my SLS cam, my thermal cam. And when I was going through the bathroom, they were coming in and out of the mirror. There's a portal in the mirror. The mirror was being used as a portal, basically. And so when I went to cleanse the apartment, I made sure to go into the bathroom and close the portal. So I closed the portal with a cleansing too.
So have you ever been tempted to, and I don't know how you interact with the portal, but have you ever been tempted to interact with the portal as I just want to see what's going to go on here? Or have you, do you feel like, nope, that would not be a good thing? Like, it as an adult, we should know not to stick like a fork into a light socket. Do you get that feeling where, nope, I'm not going to stick my fork into this portal?
No, I always just, it's not something you want to mess with.
Okay.
Tina doesn't want to mess with it. I'm the stick the fork in the portal.
Okay.
So she has to tell me to leave room sometimes.
Well, let me ask you this, because
it's a dangerous thing to mess with. You don't want to mess with stuff like that.
yeah, and I would assume that you would, and so that's, but I mean, me, I would be, once again, everything about me says, don't go do that. Like watching a movie, I will tell those people, don't go check out that sound. That's stupid. But if I was that person, I definitely would be checking out that sound.
If it wasn't in a residence, that's a different story.
Yeah, like the thing that makes me the most nervous when we're out doing something outdoorsy is people or possible wild animal or something like that, or something that it's just like, because honestly, I believe that they can't hurt me. I believe that they can't hurt me if I don't let them. So I don't know if that helps protect me or whatever, but I just don't. I think that a lot of that stuff, people get hurt. It was when they trip over the stairs when they're running away from the noise they heard or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And like in the horror movies, you see that person always trip right when the guy's behind them. That's what happens, I believe, a lot. So that's why what helps me get into these places and deal with these places.
Right.
So like you hear about the story, I won't go down that basement. I haven't gone down there for years, and I walk right down there.
Right.
I kind of just go with the flow, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm crazy. I'm a little bit crazy when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Me, I just walk in, go to where I feel the most energy, and see what I can find.
So I wrote a note down here when you were talking earlier. I think Alex had mentioned cold spots, where you would go to find cold spots. And as a Florida boy who now lives in the Midwest, those don't exist in our house. It would have to be a very, very strong poltergeist or what energy. It would have to be. So we typically will keep it a nice balmy 78 to 80 year round. And being 6'5" and bald, I can also find the cold spots that are up high. So those are taken care of as well. So I hate to break that to you. No cold spots in my house. And if we do get a cold spot, then I'll really start to wonder because something won't be going on. I wrote down as you're writing that I have never thought about, and I know how weird this can sound. I tend to live my life based on a quote from Steven Seagal's classic Under Siege 2, Dark Territory, where the bad guy, he says, chance favors the prepared mind. So I always try to take everything into account. I can even tell you what time of day for me would be the best time for aliens to arrive. I mean, so they don't mess up my day. I can still get shit done, but I'm not too tired from the day. I can still like evade and maneuver. So I've given a lot of thought, but I wrote down, I've never thought like if I got the
Get out of the house now!
I've never thought, what do I take? Or do I just get out of the house? I will not ask any questions. Thank you. I'm leaving everything behind. I had a great family and dog. I'm not even taking them. I mean, I've never thought of that. Have you ever had to tell a family or a group or wherever, an office, whatever you're investigating, have you ever said, it's probably best you leave temporarily or even permanently?
Not yet.
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay. Well, that means you're successful cleansing the location then.
So far, so
So
good.
far, so good.
Okay. Okay. What is the most frustrating thing that you have to deal with individuals? I mean, I'm trying to relate this. Like a lot of times when I was a professional photographer and I was a Nikon rep working at Best Buy, I would have people come into me and they would want to tell me as amateurs who didn't even own an actual camera, they would want to tell me how photography worked. And it would really, I would be like, okay. Do you ever run into something like that with the individuals where they're trying to, and you're like, hold on, we're the experts here. Let us tell, instead of them interpreting incorrectly, do you run into that often?
Yes.
Yes.
What's the
Or they'll ask questions like, they'll ask me questions like, do you believe in God? Or,
They think they're a medium of some kind, and
yeah.
I feel it, you know, and it's just like there are people out there that are like that, and there are people out there that
think they are.
just think you're like the person that thinks they're a race car driver, and they end up wrapped around the tree, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We also come by like,
I'm not comparing us to race car drivers, by the way. I don't want that taken out of context.
and then we come by different personalities, like some that are drunks and some that are just messed up in the head.
right.
Like it's crazy the different types of people that you come across.
What is the most outstanding thing, person-wise or situation-wise, that just blew you away? You're like, maybe you never even thought of it. Like, well, I didn't expect a ghost to dress like that, or whatever the case may be. I mean, or has there been up to this point something that just was like so far out of left field? I don't even know what that term means, but they always use it. But, you know, so far out of the norm that it just kind of took you back.
What about when I had to leave the chalet and that dude?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so we were doing an investigation at the Chalet, which is a restaurant that used to be on 67 in Elkhorn here in Wisconsin. And we were investigating, and Alex had to leave. So I was there finishing the investigation, and one of the guys, I can't remember his name, was following me around, and then he'd walk away. And I was in the pitch black because when we investigate in the dark. So I was investigating.
What is the reason for doing it in the dark? What is the reason for doing it in the dark?
More activity.
Well, the sensitive equipment picked up things a little bit easier, and also when the lights are out, you tend to hear things a little bit better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
Not
guess
only that, but
the EMF lights and things would, the more, I guess if power was on, would that be affecting your equipment then as well?
Possibly could. Yeah.
possibly, yeah.
Okay. I just wondered because, I mean, generally when if you see a show or hear about it, it's always done in the dark. And literally one of my questions is, why doesn't anyone turn the lights on? I mean, and so I knew there was probably a reason behind it, but I've never really asked. So now I have. So check mark to me.
I think it.
We're glad we can help with that.
Thank
It
you.
also has a lot to do with activity as well.
Meaning,
Meaning they're more active in the dark.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, like it was interesting. Our first investigation, she's like, "Do you want to come to a mausoleum?" And I'm like, "It was the mausoleum in the town that I grew up in that I've never been into. Yeah, I have family in the cemetery, but I've never been to the mausoleum." And it was just like one of those things. It was like, "Well, heck yes."
Oh my gosh. I
Yeah,
would
but
have.
what are we
I don't know
talking
your
about?
I don't know your age, and I don't know if you've ever seen the original Phantasm, which was probably out in 79 or 80, but it was
Yes,
set
I
in a
have.
mausoleum. So here's a little side note about how scary things from a childhood can affect you as an adult. So I saw that movie as probably a 12-year-old, probably 11 or 12. I think it was around 79 or 80, so 12, 13, somewhere in that neighborhood. And scared the poop out of me. And so when it came out on DVD, I bought it. And then our kids kept wanting to watch it with me, and I kept coming up with excuses to not watch it because I think it affected me. So I was so scared of the tall man. And
Oh, I get it.
and a flying metallic ball. I mean, come on now. There's nothing scarier than that. Well, I mean, in 1979 there wasn't, but it scared me so much that it affected. I didn't want to watch the movie, and then when I finally watched the movie, I was like, I turned into Alex. I was like, fudge, this isn't scary. I'm gonna just storm into the. And so it was very interesting how I was so scared, and something so scary could literally affect me as an adult.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I unfortunately I remember the movie what was that one with all the kids where they no, sorry.
Children of the Corn.
No, sorry, my bad. We'll do a side quest on the shirt. Tina was talking about that investigation at the chalet about when I had to leave.
Yeah. So every time I turned around when I was investigating, he was behind me, just standing there staring at me. So I'd walk, to a different area. And then I'd turn around and he'd just be staring at me in the dark with no camera, no nothing. He'd just be standing there staring at me. And then when I was in a little tiny room by myself, I was like, okay, I'm by myself. And I was leaning into this little hole to grab my EVP recorder. I turned around and he was about 2 feet away from me in the dark, like right in my face. That's when I decided, I was like, all right, I'm getting out of here. This
Well,
guy's getting too
Tina,
close.
I will tell you, if you're in a basement in the dark, reaching through a hole, that may be the best outcome for you. Hey-oh!
Was a good one.
Thank you. So a little glory hole reference there.
But
So
really, that guy was really
Well, the gentleman was
creepy.
possessed by
He was
something.
possessed by something in that bar. And
It wasn't his fault.
it wasn't his fault, but the look in his eyes was not good at all. I had to get out of there.
So it's so weird when I'm sitting here and I get like, and it's not chills. I can't even describe the feeling. Just like literally a wave. Just kind of like I feel something. It's weird when you're talking about possessed. For some reason, I remember, I can even tell you the grade. It was 3rd grade. And I can't remember his last name, but for fuck's sakes, I can remember his first name was Roger, who was my Sunday school teacher. And he always wanted to lay hands on me to exorcise the devils out of me because My mom worked at the church, so my church wasn't 1 hour every Sunday. It was like 4 or 5 hours every Sunday. And as a kid with a lot of energy, that is hell on earth. So I think I was just trying to get attention and things, but it was weird because I never thought about that. But it leads me to believe, have you ever found someone in need of possession and then been able to hang around and see that possession? Or is that something when you're cleansing an area, does that help cleanse that person, almost like exorcise them, where I guess the word exorcism comes from?
I cleanse people all the time, but I don't know. Have I ever cleansed anybody of that?
So I
I
wonder
think
if there's like a definition, like if that's just like semantics saying cleansing and exorcism, because I think that
I don't think I've ever exercised anybody
okay.
that I can recall.
that I believe requires a bit of a bit of work.
A bit of work.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
Okay. So have you ever known anyone or about someone that you're privy to see in that, or hear like a firsthand account of?
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay. So
But I do get
When that
I do
happens, we'll
use
get back in
holy
touch.
water and stuff like that for certain things.
So, and that was I guess I had never really thought about that. When we talk demons, so I always talk about, I'm fairly open, like if an alien showed up and said, yeah, there's really no God, this is how it all works, and I can show you, blah, blah, blah. I'd be like, okay. But I did grow up a Christian, so I do believe in God and Jesus. But if it ends up Jesus was an alien, I'm okay with that too. I'm fairly open-minded. But I did grow up a certain way, so I have those beliefs. So it's weird because when I think demons, I'm always just thinking about Christianity because that's how it's always been to me. Are you like are you driven by a certain faith, and if so, do you see outside the faith that you
I'm kind of looking at it from outside the box.
okay.
I don't really have a religion. I was born and raised Mormon, but I don't associate with a religion.
Okay. So then the people that
Pagan, maybe, I would say, if
so
I had to choose.
the people that you come into contact with, do they seem to be, I guess this is going to be a tiered question again. Do they seem to be of one certain faith, or of just a variety of faiths? So not bound to a certain faith. And do you see, the second part is, do you see people that are more religious be more apt to have be aware of paranormal activity, or do you see people that are less religious be more attuned to paranormal activity?
I have not heard from any Mormons.
Okay.
Let's see. I've had Christians and I've had Catholics. Catholics, I've had a couple of them get in trouble from the church if they were like in the higher churches,
Right.
But other than that, it's been Catholics and Christians.
Okay.
No, none other.
Which share, I mean, I know that the three major religions share Abraham, but I guess maybe not the most populous, whatever. They share Abraham, but they, many of the others don't. But Catholicism and Christianity, many of the God and the demons that fall underneath Lucifer or Satan kind of fall under that realm. So that's why I was wondering whether, like, if you've ever run into anyone that was Hindu, and I know that geographically it may be difficult to run in, but like someone that is Muslim or someone that is atheist or
oh yeah, I've had one atheist.
Okay. Okay. So the people that you've had an atheist, and the rest have been Christian and Catholic. Okay.
Yeah.
So then they do tend to be more, I guess, belief bound. That's my only problem that I have not only. With Christianity is like when people talk about Cain and Abel, you know, I'm like, okay, yeah. So Cain, like after he kills Abel, he goes next door and marries a girl from that tribe, and they're mentioned where, you know, it's just like they gloss over things. So they tend to have a lot of belief. And so that's why I was curious to see that you've only had one atheist and the other people seem to be subscribe to faiths that do have demons represented in their Bible. So I do think that's interesting. And it
We
made
are
me
also in small town Wisconsin as well.
well,
so
yeah. So everyone's
probably
going to be
just
that
had
way
to-
too. I mean, yeah, and that's what I meant by geographically. And I get it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. So well, I was just gonna say, you know, people try to whitewash. Hold on. That for both for the TV show Friends, because they said they were all, you know, it was all white people, and I'm like, I grew up in the 80s, and I mean, I graduated high school in 1986. I lived in the suburbs in the Midwest. All my friends we had one black guy that went to our school of 900 or something like that. So it's like, you know, that's just how it is. So I understand if you're in a small town that my grandfather was a pastor in a small town. So I very much know how, you know, you have 1, 2, or 3 churches and that's it. You have a Christian church, a Catholic church, and the Presbyterians and the Baptists. That's it for the most part.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. So are you all working on anything currently that has you really excited or on the horizon that you're going to be approaching or tackling that has you very excited?
There's some stuff we're working on, yes.
Okay. So, and that's, but that's,
Hopefully there'll be an announcement soon. We'll see how it goes.
well, I want to tell you also that I know that from the time we record this to the time that people actually, this hits their ear holes, that it's going to be a few weeks. And I want to tell you, I was very happy that you promoted the show already on some of your social media. So hold on. So I wanted to say thank you for that. But it would be it'll be a good reason to have you all back on the show as well, to whatever the secretive thing is you can't talk about. It gives a good chance to circle back around to it, because I know that I will come up with many more questions, because this does fascinate me. I mean, and it's
That's why I do it.
yeah, and it's weird because every once in a while I will get really stoned with a strain that will make me paranoid. And, you know, every once in a while I think I see shadow. That's the only thing that I've seen recently. No interaction. It's just sometimes it's like, well, that was a shadow in the dark. You know, it's like, that doesn't make sense. And but I'm also like, well, I'm fairly stoned, so I'm not sure whether I really saw that, and B, I'm not going to do anything about it right now.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah. So that will be great to have you back on again, because
Definitely.
It'd be awesome.
it's so interesting to hear about this. Here, because I always come. I should have told you this at the beginning when we were talking before we hit record, is I obviously do not understand what the term, one last question. I don't know what that term literally means. So you may hear it a couple times here, but you know, when
I have children, so I know that term.
yeah, and see, and then
one last cookie.
Yeah. And that's, but you know, it's when you're doing this type of investigation, how do you fit that into your life? Because this isn't a 9 to 5. This isn't like, we're open from 9 to 5. Yeah, nope, we'll be there. We can talk. I mean, I would assume it calls it all out. I mean, how do you all handle that with, now that you've mentioned it, Alex, you know, how do you guys handle family life, just life in general, with a schedule that has no schedule?
Basically, I try to set it up when we're both available, usually on the weekends. But lately it's been sporadic.
Well, I
Well,
wanted
and I
to
just
use this voice to tell you, us demons, we have a very specific schedule, and we're gonna need you to follow that schedule going forward. Okay, Tina? Thank you, Alex. It's much appreciated.
I never get to use that voice. The only voice I
Well,
get to use
Is I get to use this voice, but this is not a scary voice. I mean, I guess it could be scary, but this is not a scary voice, so I'm not gonna use this for paranormal. Ah! Oh no, it's a ghost!
I got to tell you honestly, if I heard that second one behind me in the middle of an area where I knew nothing was at, that would make me shit my pants.
You know what's weird is I'm not gonna lie. My wife and I have role played while I've been using it. But here's the thing: I always say that's a rabid Wolverine. She says it's a chipmunk, just because she got brainwashed with Alvin and the Chipmunks. One fucking chipmunk doesn't mean every chipmunk sounds like that. So, but
That's stereotyping. I can't believe her.
I will tell you that night I was a chipmunk.
And I was the best fucking chipmunk she ever had. Furries!
I'm just kidding. Well, or am I?
We
I
all
don't.
got to tell ourselves things.
I know. And here's the one thing is I always tell everyone on this podcast, listen to what people say. They'll tell you exactly who they are. So now I have a whole group of listeners that are like, oh shit, he's a furry. I'm just kidding. Ah, my
Well,
gosh.
that's honestly, now I wasn't thinking that till you just mentioned it. Now I just can't picture anything but.
Well, you're welcome. So
Thank you very much, sir.
yeah. So, okay. So we've had Tina Anderson and Alex Drohner on from Phantom Normal, I'm sorry, Phantom Paranormal.
Paranormal. Come
Yeah,
on,
I mean,
sir.
if it was Phantom Normal, I mean, no one's gonna call that. I mean, yes.
Well, that's for like if your grass isn't growing quick enough.
Well, see, I have the ability to mute my mic, so you haven't heard my bong rips that I've been taking on this end. So for
Oh, I wish we had that. I mean, you've been hearing the lighter, I'm sure.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Phantom Paranormal. So, where can they find you all? If someone needs to reach out to you, if someone has questions, they have someone in the ear. How do they reach out to you? Socials, anything else? How do they reach out to you all?
Facebook,
Well,
Instagram.
They can
Through you now.
Yes, yes. And I will tell you that I was on your Facebook page, and that's where I saw that you had said that we were recording tonight. So I very much appreciated that. So once again, but yeah. So go out and find Tina Anderson, Alex Drohner. They're with Phantom Paranormal. You guys are based out of Wisconsin, but okay. See, once again, another final question: how far is the furthest you've traveled so far to investigate something?
City.
Oklahoma City. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
About
and
12 and a half hours.
another final question. Do you find a particular type of, I guess, location? I mean, I would rule out cemetery because it's kind of full of dead people, but like a house or a building or even churches, because a lot of people, I mean, they have funerals and stuff, so I don't know what to rule. A plantation maybe, or do you find older homes, do you find hauntings, paranormal activity happening in a certain location more than other locations?
probably residents.
Residents
with the people, but honestly, we were just out shooting some video the other day on my property, way back in the back, way far away from nowhere, and some of our equipment was reacting differently than I thought it would. I didn't think there'd be any activity out there,
Right.
and it just really all depends on what's happening at the moment there when you're there.
Right.
Yeah, and it was communicating with us about something that's going on in our lives.
Yeah, it spoke, like it mentioned something directly that was very personal. The things that we do don't always point, like look over to the left, and you look over to the left, there's a ghost.
Right.
You have to interpret things sometimes, and it was just weird to have it mention something that I didn't think it would.
Right. Well, and
Oh,
that's
and by the way, back to we were talking before how we make this work with our schedules.
right.
I have a very lovely wife and if I don't mention it, she will probably smack me. Thank you, Sherry. I love you.
Well, and I know how important that is. At some point, I feel like I just need to jump and do this full time because I do have a full-time regular job. And my wife was talking about this a couple days ago. So she is my biggest fan. She's my biggest supporter, Bobby. She knows how much I love her. We've been together for 27 years. In fact, I'm going to pitch my own other podcast. We met, it was a one-night stand, but here we are 27 years later. So I do the longest one-night stand with Bobby and Roe.
Nice.
But you know, it is nice, but she was talking about, because you do have to have the support of, if you have people that you're sharing time with on a daily basis, you need their support. And Bobby's very supportive, but she did point out that the amount of time that I do my regular job and this job that I don't get paid much for, that I probably am making about $2 an hour. So there's a certain amount of love that goes, you know, we have our regular jobs to pay the bills, and then we have our love, our job that really makes us think and, you know, make that brain pan gurgle. So, I mean, and I like that. That's why I love talking to people like you all that do something that I don't know anything about. I don't know anything at all. So
I'm still learning every investigation I learn.
Yeah. I would be interested. I think Kansas City, especially down like in the West Bottoms, River Key area, there was a lot of, and well, actually I don't. Another final question, Tina, directed at you. Sorry. So like if there is, would there be something that would more ingrain paranormal activity? Because I was thinking about, there was a lot of mob activity here in the Kansas City area, back even up through the 70s and early 80s, I believe. Bombing, shootings, all these different things. So are hauntings more in tune with maybe something that was, I don't even want to say violent, but maybe something that happened suddenly as opposed to just a house that nothing tragic happened in ever.
Death, violence, all that kind of thing.
All that stuff. And
Okay.
It feeds on it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's some things out there that just their Thanksgiving dinner is suffering.
Yeah.
And you know, we've all heard stories of this insane asylum somewhere that people that do what we do couldn't make it through the night.
right.
I'd love to do that.
And I mean, they're out there. Those are the kind of places that, you know, that I kind of want to go see.
Yeah.
See,
me
and
too. I'd love
here's
to do
one of
that.
my thoughts is that, so big believer in the great term that when you wish for rain, you got to deal with the mud. So you say so if someone said, hey, you will have the opportunity to stay, you fill in the blank, wherever you two deem the most, whatever you want to get into, wherever that is, you now have access to it. But the rule is you have to be locked in there for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, whatever, a certain predetermined time span, no escape room, unless you're physically dying. There's no, hold on, this is for paranormal stuff. You can't escape. No escapes. Would you still, knowing that you can't get away from would you still want to take that chance?
Yes,
Yes.
with cameras.
Yes.
Okay.
With camera.
Okay.
And also the thing that I also bring to what we do is I'm a very large gentleman myself, about 6'5", bald head, so I know when the temperature changes before other people like you do.
Yes.
It helps being also. Oh, I'm sorry. It helps me in that I also know that I'm very intimidating. So,
You
bring it
know,
on.
some people forget that, and I mention this on the show all the time. I say, listen to people; they'll tell you who they are. What I am is I'm a big, intimidating guy, and I'm not thick right now, but I'm still fit at 56. I'm 6'5", 170 pounds. But I used to always say, like, when I was working somewhere, especially in retail, I would get back from days off and they'd be like, oh, you'd never believe this customer did this, that, and the other. And I would be like, why does this shit never happen when I'm there? And I think it didn't happen because I was there. Because when people would walk in like a Best Buy, they could see me. Because I would always see it. People would come and ask me a question because they would walk across the store because I was 6'5" and they could see my head. Oh, there's a guy with a blue shirt. I got to go ask him a question. So I totally get what you're saying, Alex, that sometimes that intimidation factor comes in very handy. So
It does, definitely.
Yeah.
It helps the concerts too when your friends try to find you.
It does. It was. So it also helps when I was single. My best friend at the time was a very good-looking guy, but he was like 5'8". So when we would go to bars, he would always get mad. He goes, "Why do girls always come up and talk to you?" And I'm like, "Because they can see me across the bar, and they already know. They've already approached me and know." I go, "They don't know you're there until you are there because." Sorry, you're 5'8". So, yeah, I love being tall. But, yes, people make fun of me all the time because they'll see me, especially in the wintertime, like just moving a foot at a time. And they're like, what are you doing? I go, I'm finding the hot spot because I can feel where the vent is blowing the hot air. And so I'm looking.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, and if I felt that. So, here's my deal. I will make this commitment to you all. So, for Alex and Tina, if I feel a cold spot on my head that I cannot get rid of, I will make sure that I give you all a call. Because then I will know something's up.
Yeah, you're not that far away, man.
I mean, in Kansas City, I just think there's a lot of history here, and I would just be hard-pressed, especially with the violent history of that area, downtown Kansas City. I would just be very interested in... But I try to do that, and sometimes I feel kind of like I go to Union Station in Kansas City because we'll travel by train, and it has a very storied history and it has a great grand hall. And sometimes I'll stand in there and just try to feel the energy of people, entities, whatever you want to call it, that had passed through there before. I'll just close my eyes and try to feel it. And sometimes I feel like I can, and sometimes I feel like I can't. And so it's neat to talk to you all that are out there and not only being able to feel the stuff, but go out and investigate that stuff. That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I noticed also on your Facebook page that you were looking for professional photographers. That's also with my background. If you're in Kansas City, then I will go out. Oh, I'm trying to think there's an old abandoned VA hospital here in Kansas City, which just the two words VA hospital, whether it's abandoned or not, sounds scary enough. So I don't know. Maybe I may have to do some scouting and try to get you all to Kansas City because I think that it would be fun to have or maybe I'll just have to come to Wisconsin because who wouldn't want to go to Wisconsin in the middle of winter? Oh, hold on. Sorry, wrong button.
We'll check out the VA hospital.
Okay. So anyway, Alex Drohner, Tina Anderson with Phantom Paranormal in Wisconsin. Thank you all so much for being on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
It was awesome.
It was so much fun. And I hope to have you. It sounds like you have some big news that's on the near horizon. So when you all get to that, once you all share that, I hope you'll come back and share that with our audience as well, because I'd love to hear about it.
Definitely. We'll let you know.
Yep.
That sounds great. Everyone, thank you all for listening to the Stone Genius podcast. You guys know me. My name's Ro. I'm often stoned. I'm always a genius. Thank you all for listening. Talk to y'all later.